8 times The Simpsons predicted the future. Since 1989, The Simpsons has brought laughter and a dose of sarcasm to millions of American homes. So when most of us watch The Simpsons, we're not expected to take it seriously, are we? It's all fun and games, right? But there's more to the comedic genius of creator Matt Groening and his band of writers than meets the eye. On numerous occasions, they have managed to predict the future with such freakish accuracy. Perhaps these writers know something we don't. Or maybe Matt Groening has a crystal ball secretly stashed in his office. But while we can't be sure of how The Simpsons are predicting the future, we can take a look at 8 times they did so with uncanny precision. Number 8. Disney taking control of Fox. On December 4th, 2017, Disney announced that it would be acquiring a majority stake in Fox in an estimated $52 billion. In deal, Disney would acquire the company's television networks, film studios, and a massive stake in Hulu. Interestingly, The Simpsons had managed to see the deal actualizing long before anyone else did. In a 1998 episode titled When You Dish Upon a Star, The Simpsons joked that the 20th Century Fox, the company movie studio, would eventually become part of Disney's ever-growing empire. In a particular scene that takes place at the parking lot of Fox Studios, there's a sign distinctly showing Fox is now a division of Walt Disney Co. Makes you wonder what else Matt knows about Disney. Perhaps they could be buying Netflix soon. Yikes. Number 7. Roy Horn Tiger Attack. When you watch The Simpsons, it's probably wise to watch it with your third eye open. We're not getting spiritual or anything, but the show has made too many accurate future predictions for you to take it lightly. One particular prediction that had viewers feeling like they were in an episode of The Twilight Zone was that of Roy Horn, a member of Siegfried and Roy duo. In a 1993 episode titled Springfield, billionaire Mr. Burns, who also happens to be Homer's annoying boss, decides to open the first casino in Springfield. To celebrate the occasion, he organizes a magic show with the first act on stage being none other than Roy Horn handling his pet tiger. Things go horribly wrong when the tiger attacks Roy. Well, this is exactly what happened a decade later from the episode's air date. Coincidence? You be the judge. In fact, Roy was attacked by the 7-year-old white tiger Montecore, inflicting serious injuries and leaving Roy unable to walk and talk for several years. In a rare act of kindness, Roy pleaded for the tiger to not be harmed, despite the brutal mauling. The tiger went on to die of natural illness. Number 6. The NSA spying on Americans. So we know The Simpsons television show has a way of making mind-bending predictions of the future. But what about The Simpsons movie released in 2007? Well, there is one particular scene in the movie that shows the NSA is in fact spying on people's phone calls and probably monitoring their every move. Americans would be shocked 6 years later when Edward Snowden actually leaked documents in 2013, revealing the NSA was actually spying on the public. For many Simpsons fanatics, this didn't come as a surprise. Had you been paying attention to the said scene, you would have seen it right away. In the controversial scene, the family is being spied on while riding the bus. Marge admits that Homer is responsible for polluting the lake, and the camera then shifts to the NSA offices tapping this conversation. Number 5. The Presidency of Donald Trump. This is probably one of the most talked about predictions in Simpsons history. Regardless of your politics, you have to admit the unlikeliness of Donald Trump becoming president was pretty high in the early 2000s, to the point that The Simpsons even did a gag touching on the subject. Little did they know that they'd be completely right more than 15 years later. In this Simpsons episode, Bart to the Future, Lisa becomes the President of the United States. While holding a cabinet meeting, the visibly disturbed Lisa declares that the country inherited a massive credit crunch from the previous presidency of Donald Trump. This was in reference to the Trump's run for the Reform Party nomination in 1999. The gag eventually gained some validity when Donald Trump was elected the 45th President of the United States in 2016. Number 4. Baby Translators. Remember Homer's brother, Herb? Yep, the guy who failed with numerous projects like the car design and eventually lost his fortune. but vowed to resurface in the 1992 episode, Brother, Can You Spare 2 Dimes? In this episode, Herb borrows money from Homer for his new invention, the baby translator, which translates a baby's babble and cries to speech that their parents can understand. This helps the parents know exactly what their baby is crying for. Well, it turns out their prediction was right, as the Cry Translator was released in 2013. Number 3. The Beatles finally responding to fan mail decades later. In the 1991 episode Brush with Greatness, Marge takes her artistic side to a whole new level, and decides to paint a portrait of Ringo Starr. After battling with herself, she eventually gains the courage to send the portrait to him. Ringo manages to see the portrait years later because he was determined to respond to every single fan that had ever written a letter to him. Interestingly, this actually transpired in real life with Sir Paul McCartney, one of the lead members of the iconic Beatles band. At the height of the band's career, 2 women who were big fans of Sir Paul McCartney recorded a message meant for him on a reel-to-reel tape they had sent in 1963. It took 50 years for the legend to finally respond in 2013, writing them the following heartfelt message. Hi Linda and Barbara, thanks very much for your lovely tape. It finally got through, better late than never. Great to hear that you found each other after all these years. Keep enjoying the music. Love, Paul. So, we've come to the best pick for the day. Having a closer look, it's hard to imagine that Homer would be playing Fortnite, right? Well, he certainly does in this picture. And you can tell from his character's design that he's been pulling a couple of all-nighters to master the game. Way to go, Homer. It's time to catch up with what's hip in 2020. Number 2. Simpsons predict future technology. This brings us to our second prediction. Let's face it, the Simpsons family has a knack of predicting future technological trends. In an episode titled Lisa's Wedding, the show attempts to predict how future gadgets will work. In the episode, Lisa's boyfriend, Hugh Parkfield, tries to get in touch with Lisa. He makes a phone call using his watch, similar to how modern-day smartwatches work. In a different scene in the same episode, the Simpsons also predict that video calls will be commonplace, and will likely replace the monotony of voice calls. With such a massive prediction, they foretold Skype, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, Facebook Messenger, you name it. Another spooky technological prediction was that in 1995 episode titled Lisa on Ice, where the show predicts that autocorrect will be a common feature in phones in the future. In one scene, Dolph the Bully writes a reminder up on his PDA to beat up Martin. The autocorrect eventually changes the note to Eat Up Martha. This tool made it to our smartphones a decade later. Number 1. Predicting the Game of Thrones ending. For many Game of Thrones diehard fans that religiously followed forum updates, the rise of the Mad Queen Daenerys Targaryen was inevitable. Her burning of King's Landing to the ground even after Cersei's forces had surrendered was not something out of mind, but not many of the casual fans saw it coming. So it was a surprise to see that The Simpsons had predicted the ending 2 years earlier. In a 2017 episode titled Simpsons, the show parodies Game of Thrones. In one particular scene, the Simpsons family is standing on a hill in despair as they watch a dragon raise their village from the ground. Look, the dragon is burning our village, Bart mutters. Homer laughs sarcastically and says, I love our life. Boom, there's your ending. Yep, The Simpsons does have a knack for telling the future, and they credit this to their uncanny ability to, read the tea leaves of comedy. And that's about it. So which Simpsons prediction spooked you the most? Let us know in the comment section below. Once again, thanks for watching.